Yes. Well, good afternoon, everybody that's here with us in the Central European time. Good evening or morning when you're somewhere else in the world. Welcome to the first expert talk of In Edit Festival Amsterdam 2021. My name is Hugo Emmerzaal. I'm a film and a music critic from the Netherlands, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to this expert talk, but also to introduce you to our first guest, Juan Behrens, who is an animation and creative director at MediaMonks Animation, a huge, sprawling company that works with creative people all over the world. Juan also worked as a motion designer and animation director in a studio in Los Angeles, an ad agency in Dubai, and a freelancer in Mexico City, of course. Welcome to everybody that's here. Juan, welcome. Thank you so much for being with us today. You're gonna have a expert talk presentation first, and then after your presentation, everybody that's joining us is welcome to ask questions for an audience Q&A. We're now streaming via YouTube, where you can just share your comments and questions in the chat, and I'll make sure to pick them out. So feel free to do that during Juan's talk, but also after. I think that's all the necessities that had to be said. So in that case, Juan, the floor is yours. Go ahead with your expert talk.
So, all right. Hello, everybody. Just gonna do this. So I do my stuff. All right. Thanks so much for the introduction, Hugo, and thanks so much for in Edit for like organizing this this event. And on behalf of all the guys in MediaMonks, thanks for giving us the space to show a little bit of our work and a little bit of who we are to everyone. So yes, my name is Juan Behrens. I'm an animation and creative director at MediaMonks HQ here in Netherlands. I come from Venezuela, Caracas, Venezuela, and I've been here working for now almost 8 years, all in MediaMonks, and next to a talented team of ever-growing talent pool across the globe. We have been making different animation projects in different platforms. Just in motion design, AR, motion design, VR, film, visual effects, TVCs, just website that transformed to a TVC, or yeah, you name it. We probably have done it if it's something that graphical that moves through time. Now, before we go into the presentation, I wanted to like touch base a bit on the before talking about production here. You know, like I wanted to touch base about what happened on this last year. It was difficult for a lot of people, and the whole world was kind of shaken by this COVID situation, and that made a lot of people like adapt to it if they wanted to, keep doing what they're doing. And yeah, for us, we remember work was like this, felt something like that. And even, wait, can you turn the presentation? There we go. So for many of us, the whole work situation felt something like this, or like that. But the reality is that, at least for me, it was more like this, especially when the lockdown was effective. And that was something that hit us all different points, and we have to find ways to cope with it and get out of that. But like, because there was nothing to fix per se, just it was more of a situation that we all have to survive and adapt to, finding the right angle to get a breather out of it, And yeah, what I'm saying, it was difficult. We had to adapt, and most of people kind of remember it like an infographic, like black and white. But I just remember we felt because there was a lot of things that made me and my team grew, and we stand tall from those learnings today. And the goal of this talk is to like expose two things to you guys, the viewers. Those things: show new work, especially specifically from this year of COVID, and share new insights. Maybe there are not new insights, but yeah, new insights, at least for us. And this talk is called Creative Adaptation because of that. Just creative work and how we adapt ourselves to make that actually work. So projects, learnings, and insights from 2020 till last Friday. With that said, let's go. 3 things I wanted to show here, 3 different projects. Picture Start, Nike, Air Jordan 35, and MediaMonks Animation Reel. These 3 projects were chosen for this talk because they were made in different key points of that timeline of COVID. Picture Start, we had, I think for Picture Start we had the brief come to the office back then when we were still together, and we started the production, or even the last part of pre-production, already working from home. So there was like 2 days or so of people not being able to work because the computer were being sent home. And so yeah, that was the first COVID project that we made. The next one was Nike Air Jordan, was made in August 2020, and it was a project that was a bit bigger in scope, and it was in the peak of the pandemic, and it was also at the same time that Black Lives Matter was also making a big boom in the world. So the whole situation was very sensible for the whole world. And MediaMonks Animation Reel, an internal project, of course, it was started on November, roughly November until now. Kind of slow because it's an internal project, and that's like the last. I hope that is the last project from the pandemic, and so we can get everybody vaccinated and move on. So let's start with Picture Start. As we go through the different projects, you will see some slides like this, which are like highlighting or chiming out the learnings or insights or key points that I wanted to share with you guys that hopefully will inspire you or make your production better also. Yeah. And so yeah, very much is the format. So it will be just going through the projects and chiming in some insights as we go. So Picture Start. Picture Start is a production company dedicated on film, well, multiple application, and but initially film, and they wanted to create a cinematic logo animation, just like the one you will see for on the cinema before the movie starts, you know. And so a cinematic logo animation, and this became the project where we learned about like how we started adapting working from home. The whole thing was like a like a blank slate for us when we got our computers at home, and everything felt awkward, but we had to move on, you know. So this was a very dear project for many of us because of that. The whole project started with a concept that it was, with one concept was more of the narrative, and one concept that was more of the execution, right? But they were kind of like overlapped by the same essence of it. In this case, the concept that we saw was called chromatic voice. We show like five, and this is the one that we ended up choosing. And I'm gonna go a bit quick over the project so I can talk a bit more or give or protect the time for the insight. So I might just skip through it, but like these are projects that you can see online. And what I wanted to get most of this talk is just to expose the insights loud and clear for everyone, and talk about also the vulnerabilities. You know, that's something you cannot just Google. And so for now, for the chromatic voice, we want to find like to explore the wavelength on the properties of light being a particle on a wave, and find the connection of that properties to visuals. Because at the end, light is also like the visual, wherever we see in motion graphics, you can also interpret them as a wavelength, right? So for that, we look at this kind of like synesthesia map that matches frequency and colors and notes. And we thought it was kind of interesting to explore and anchor ourselves to this creative and this mapping, and make all the different inspiration that we're gonna create to be kind of like limited within these concepts, right? And the main color for this brand is blue, which is basically on this sharp here, which turned out to be the key of the track that we're using at the end. by chance. And with that two concept, we learned that simple theme helps evaluating what really works and what doesn't, especially when working from home. Like you don't have to say no or yes or oversee too much when you have something really really simple to evaluate the work that's being done, and that makes it easier a little for us to scrap what's definitely not doing anything for the project and what could potentially do something for the project. So with that in mind, we started doing storyboards just to see like how that whole concept of the light could come out on screen. And with some simple storyboard, we started exporting right away different visuals for that, like how would it look like at the end. Style frames is what we call them, and just exploring without any commitment. And you can see they're all kind of different, but they are all on the same vein, within the same theme. And we're just like showing daily work with the team. And shout out to Megan and Pierre Mota who were working on that design and animation for this. And yeah, we're just exploring different visuals to see what is kind of like clicking or not. And next to that, we're also finding and exploring like what's the right type of motion to show, the frequency and rhythm of things. We're finding a little bit of inspiration on the movement of analogical signals being interpreted by digital. So you have a lot of sine waves that could be kind of cool to explore. Also, we wanted to find or use the physical fact that some color wavelengths travel faster than other ones. So that could give us a little bit of a justification for using color offset on the animation. Basically, the red shift and blue shift. But applying animation, but why not, you know? And also, we did some preparation for the very ending. We wanted to finish with a nice epic feel, and the whole construct of this exploration was aimed to hit the initial brief expectation from the client, which they wanted something that was kind of vintage, but at the same time modern, but at the same time everlasting. And next to all that exploration, we had the team on the sound also doing exploration with just audio, and that for us is very important because we, as an animation team, we cannot start projects or think about any animation project without having sound into consideration. For us, it's like 50, even 60% of the value that you see on screen, right? And I want to show. Well, they did two explorations for the different five ideas that we show, but here I'm just showing two. Have a listen. Hopefully everything works fine with the audio. The cool thing about this is like there's no visuals yet, like moving, but with this single star frame and the music, you can feel how everybody can start like picturing in their head, like how it would all kind of feel like. Check it out. Good, huh? This one I love too. This is like two different approaches, and something that also help us to give to explore a lot in the beginning. When doing alterations, we don't do alteration of like one thing, like give one option and the other option is very similar. We want to like really almost go in different polar directions so we can really amplify the first exploration phase. Luckily, but sadly, at the same time, after that, we got notice that the client wanted to bring Justin Hurwitz to the project. He's a famous composer for La La Land, Last Man, Whiplash, and with him on board, well, we just put doing the whole sound with him, and that was totally fine too. The creative process was the same with him, without him, but yeah, it was a we were like we were very excited to have him on board. And right after that, after we got the approval of the visuals and some of the expression that we were doing, we continued working with Justin, and from there the conversation with the animation team and Justin became more about like finding the symmetry, the perfect symmetry between what we wanted to make that also touched bases on the concept that we wanted to anchor all the explorations and the composition that he was doing. And it was a very, in a way, sometimes it could feel like very abstract, but it felt great that we were like at least feeling that we were on the same page. And that was a feeling that it carries on until the very end of the project. And since it's kind of an abstract piece in motion, there was a lot of minuscule things to adjust, and screen sharing for a long time was definitely something that helped us to get to the end point. We did some variations the whole thing as we went, which make it a little bit better. But yeah, collaborating in real time while screen sharing helps overseeing adjustments like insane. And we don't be careful not overdoing it because privacy. But yeah, it works. It works really good to do a screen sharing and opening up the amplifying that kind of a connection between colleagues, just to simulate a little bit of that magic that used to happen in the work, in the office. Now, this is the end result of the animation that we did for Picture Start. Check it out. That was Picture Start. Now, following up to the next next project. I need to jump to this. There we go. Next project is Nike Air Jordan 35. Nike Air Jordan, the Air Jordan team, they release a shoe every year, and last year was the edition number 35. And for that, they want to work with MediaMonks and create a global launch in the form of a virtual experience. And being this a project where, August 2020, it became the project where we are finding out like what is the creative resilience that we have been building up from March. There was a lot of things, like very small learnings, but they were there that we were collecting and sharing as the month passed by. But again, people have life and they families, so there's not a lot of chill moments where you can just like share like this what you have learned. But whenever there was a microscopic opportunity, they would say that, and that build up to some point that resilience. And this project was using a lot of that. So let's get into it. The whole thing was led by the MediaMonks team in LA, and MediaMonks Animation department was helping, of course, in the animation part of it. The MediaMonks LA had this concept that was sold to Air Jordan called the 35th Dimension. It changed eventually, but it's fine. It was that was the first moment where we are igniting or sparking up with the project, with this whole thing with the 35th Dimension. And once we're on it, there's a lot of questions, some doubts. Where's the brief? What are the answers? There's a lot of things that were like kind of eating on us, but at the same time, not knowing too much of the project gives us a lot of ideas too. And that's the insight that I want to mention here, like socialize your ideas in the progress. I think this is very key to also like catalyze or open the space for those ideas that you don't know that they could be there until you actually do something about it. Any work, any sketch, anything. Really, anything will help, but you need to be proactive with that. So this is like one big key part of that resilience that we learned from this project. Like socialize your ideas, the progress, get with people, share what you have, and let them see what you're thinking on. Most of the chances they will probably see something that you are not seeing at all, or interpret the whole thing from a different point of view, and give you some comments that will make that whole idea even better. And I think that's the whole vibe that keeps us working in this field, like that whole sense of collaboration, you know. So for this initial phase, we wanted to propose some kind of like main ad, probably to to showcase the shoe and some athletes using it. Maybe we can shoot them. I don't know. We just propose it. Then you start having the limitation. Like we cannot shoot the athletes because of COVID reasons. I mean, working from home, it was very hard to like get a crew in there. So we were like discarding some of these ideas and finding out what's the exact scope of or the playgrounds where we can get like more ideas from from the animation point of view. Then we have another one that it was just using small moments of athletes training, and then they will transform into cartoons, and then we will see some kind of a gameplay between them. And this idea came out because we knew that Nike was working with another company doing some animations that like animations for each model of the shoe. And so you have like a different alterations of the shoe, like one is blue, or yellow, or red, whatever, and each color would be for different athletes. And we wanted to find a way that maybe we can connect all those different individual animations into one. But how? That's where we got into this exploration phase. That maybe we start with some kind of like a training from home idea, kind of TikTok, this idea from one of creative, Ruin in the department of creative. That was a mix up with me and Sonu. That Sonu made the animation here for this test about how can we make that like be seen by the people in this film. And this test led to another wall. And at the end, we wanted to simplify it. Simplify it also helps on different projects like this too. And we ended up doing some kind of like animatics or inverse animatics because we didn't have access to what the other team was doing. So we were just like kind of assuming what the angles were. And with that in mind, we worked kind of like reverse engineering an edit that could work as the main ad for this launch. So that leads to this insight: working from home contingency. Assume something will not go as planned and be ready to act fast. Communication in general, it seems fast because you can just send an email right away in working from home, but people are busy and that email takes time to respond. And yeah, you need to be ready to act fast. So we ended up changing a little bit more and making a little more honest to the product, and starting with the athletes, just start with the shoe and create this kind of cool in between transitions of one athlete to the other athlete. So that way the other studios, We Love Dust and Golden Wolf, excellent animation studios, they were making these animations, and we would just do it, the intro, in the in-betweens, and the end. But again, we have to do the the whole architectural, the whole design for that. And for as a proof of concept, we were doing animatics, which greenlit this approach. Just gonna mute it because we might not have the rights to use that track. But we're just using any track there that we think it could sell the vibe or the idea that we wanted to convey. By the time that we already have these explorations on the board and our sketches assumed sketches are made, we got some work in progress from the other studio that led us to create a better or more fruitful exploration on this animatic. And so again, we were assuming being proactive, and that create a kind of a serendipity moment where assets actually came, and we just replaced the work that we have been doing with the right one, and it just elevated our exploration to something better. And with that in mind, we also find this pretty inside the pretty good insight that we're most of the time working with one aspect ratio to consider them all. And most of the clients want to have one production in animation that can also be applied for social. That means vertical, square. So that's why you have some guides on that animatic before that make us like a little bit aware if how much are we cropping or not cropping if we want to make this video for social too. Since it's an animatic, it's just a reference point. But at the end, we try best to consider that, and and it's something that have helped us make more of use of our time and effort without having to, re-render everything again. And this is the final product, or the final start frames. This is the actual thing that we were designing. These are the in-between moments. And we just saw the start frame, or like the start frame that the other team was using, and reverse engineer the art direction and try to follow the same exact colors, sizing, and everything. And this is the end result. We gotta mute it.
Hey Juan, that looks really incredible. Just breaking in for very quickly to say that you have a couple of minutes, and then we kind of have to go into Q&A mode.
Yep.
So I'm sorry to rush you, but loving all the work so far, and also to everybody that's listening in and joining us. Feel free to ask questions in the chat so we can address them to Juan and discuss them together. Thanks.
So the last project that I want to talk about is just our actual reel, and this is more like the conclusion project. And since it's something we're still working on, I don't have a lot to share, but I just want to quickly touch a little bit of points of the creation process of it, so you can see how we are applying the learnings into making that a little bit more easy for us. So to create something that create contrast in the field, something we try to do is like see what others are doing, try doing the opposite. Not in general, but like find something and do the opposite. So for reels, we usually use a track that they find and they just put it there, or compose a track, they put it there on the reel and edit, and it works great. This case, having more collaboration with our sound team, we created a full composition that we wanted to record live with the orchestra, and the whole conversation started with this rough, bad sketch with some ideas, and the main idea was like kind of a graph that shows the intensity of that kind of composition we want to create. With that in mind, we can start now in parallel creating a cool intro / edit for the reel, and the sound team will create a composition that can record live with an orchestra. We clean that up. It looks like this, and this is basically a consequence of just working using what is accessible to you and not pushing for resources that we don't have. And the sound team came up with some cool, I'm just going to run through this quick, some cool exploration about how can we address that tone of the music with percussions. We have a lot of reference to that from composer Kim. And we got to this conclusion that is very, very true to us too. The first 20% of production, we focus on quantity over quality, and the rest, we do focus on quality over quantity. That's the way you want to do it, so you can edit it properly, right? The things that doesn't work and whatever works. This is the whole sheet printed at the end. So that's an animation reel, basically. And we recorded with the Metropole Orchestra, which we are fans of. There's some pictures that give me goosebumps when I see it. And this is almost still frames of the intro that we're making for the reel. And I have a work in progress, but since we're running out of time, last insert here, working from home plus working from office is a new way of working. Definitely, we see the hybrid, like in today's and not today's work day, like seeing this thing live, for example, editing live, and then going back to work from home just to refine stuff. It's like a very nice mix that we're living on. So this is a good insight that we're living at the moment. But since we're running out of time, I wanna leave this for you guys to Google it when we launch it in the next 3 weeks or so. And we can open to questions in the meantime. And just to finalize, I have one more slide here about things I want to recommend also for whoever is trying to create some content in any platform. I want to recommend the Golden Rules. This is something you can Google, of course. We'll put the links maybe on the video after. Oblique Strategies by Brian Eno and Peter Schmidt. Something really, really good, very useful tool to create like that other tool that you need to break that creative block. And then the No Rules book by from Netflix, and like how you all can change for them from Reed Hastings and Eddie Mayer. It's a book that like open our minds. But yeah, I think that's it. Q&A.
Hey, thank you so much, Juan. Super interesting. Also, hey, happy Father's Day. Yay. I really want to second Oblique Strategies as well. It's a very interesting, how do you say it, set of challenges, I guess. Thanks for sharing all these insights. Thanks for sharing all these, breakdowns of processes and giving some insights in future projects to come. I think maybe In Edit can share the show reel that you've made when it's finalized, so we can give it to everybody that's also joining us now here for the Q&A. I have a bunch of questions, but I already see one coming in the comments. Christiana asks, a lot of good ideas come from just when the creative team is hanging out for lunch or coffee breaks, etc. Did you miss that while working from home, and how did you replace that?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and I would say that we hit a lot of walls trying to recreate that, and hitting those walls is part of the process to recreate that space. It is there, definitely. If you feel it, it's because it is there. It's just like kind of a limb that's trying to reach something else, and something else that's on another home. Mm-hmm. We have been using stuff like Figma or Miro. They're like shared boards. Mm-hmm. And with those boards, you can just like throw ideas there. But there's something really cool here, a very cool takeaway here, Cristiano. For me, being like very abstract thinking person, it takes for me a little bit more of iterations to really distill the actual essence of what I'm trying to communicate. By me working from home, I can just spit out on sketches the ideas that I have, like that one of the reel, for example, and then I can understand why is it relevant and take the essence, and that's where I make a call with my team and see if they find something there, socialize the idea. So instead of having that kind of a chill, very natural way of sharing ideas like that, it's a little bit more of a kind of a actual task that you need to get busy into.
Yeah.
And you don't need to put like 6 hours of work. It may just be a recording of you on your phone and you send it. Just like TikTok, but like send it to one colleague. And through WhatsApp even. And point with your fingers, it's fine, but really do the work of explaining what you think it should be done and why is it relevant. Because then people can hook up to that thing and be closer to what your thinking process is, instead of just you describing the process.
That's interesting.
So, yeah, it helps.
And before we went live, Juan, we were also discussing a little bit how working from home, and for instance, you're also a father of 2, if I'm not mistaken, you said. I mean, it has been a very tiring year for many of us, and you're explaining these things and just casually hopping on calls and stuff. But I would be interested to know, how do you also then battle fatigue, and maybe how do you make sure that you and your whole creative team stay sane and healthy and rested? Because I think that sometimes one of the biggest barriers is also everything has to be appointed. Every call you need to plan in. There's no spontaneity or like positive or.
Like during COVID, we didn't have any struggles with my family and nothing, because like we were superhumans, and we don't, of course, man. No, and there's no that I would love to give you like the secret, like put sea salt and lime pepper, sodium bicarbonate, like that apparently kills everything, but there's nothing, man. And especially for kids, even parenting without COVID, like parenting, there's a lot of books that talk about parenting, and nobody's referring to the same book. Like, guys, I found it. No, because we're all the same, anatomy, but we're all different.
Yeah.
That's also nice to say now in this Pride Month, actually. So we're all different, man, and all being different creates that kind of a diversity that we need to innovate. If there's no diversity, there's no innovation. So that when you have that diversity of ideas, is when you start seeing techniques within techniques that you might scrape something out of it. So what I'm saying is that trying out things and not giving up, it's like a very tacky thing to say, but it does pays off. It doesn't solve the issue, especially now, but it makes you get to the next thing,
Give some upwards motion, maybe.
Yeah, it's like Frozen. Just do the right next thing.
But there's
I can see that a lot.
Cool, thanks. There's a good question from Anna Chartchenko. How do you know when an assignment is done, and are there any projects you wish you could have worked more on? That's a very good question.
Yeah. How do you know when an assignment is done? What we do, most of 90% of things that we do in MediaMonks Animation are design driven, and design driven before being bad or good, it comes to the question if it's right or wrong, and that's something that is almost like math. Is it really solving the issue? And when we know that it's solving it, that for us is like, okay, now we can go and think about makeup and make it glow, make it better, and all stuff. And that for us is like almost like another step. So to put it more into a specific example, if something doesn't work in animatic as it should, it doesn't give you the goosebumps that we're looking for, don't even think about the next step. So that's what I was saying in that other slide on the insights. Really, really, really squish quality over quantity of the first 20% of whatever you're doing, so you can really explore of different angles. And when you explore, don't explore one angle and then something different. No, go opposite. Try cooking with gas now. Try cooking with magnifying glass and sun. Then try doing barbecue. Then try cooking with glass and barbecue. Like really, really mix things up, And out of that permutation, you will find the things that your project, not you, but your project is looking for. Because, when you create something, most of the time that something is not yours. By the time it has a good insight, it's part of the team. So to answer the question more specifically, when you know it's done, when the timeline reaches. But make sure to put the effort, especially on the beginning, because if you put that at the beginning, people will take the responsibility even from you, because they will find that attractiveness aspect of whatever you're making. And one project that I always dream of doing, for example, it's I have a few, but one that I have since a kid is like making Wikipedia into Hitchhike Your Sky to the Galaxy. If I don't do it, somebody will do
it. Well, Anna says thanks. That's how I see it as well, a math problem. So I think you got a great breakdown of that process, Juan. I have another question myself, which deals a bit more maybe with inspiration, because with your first project that you shared with us, I saw in your mood board kind of slide that you had like the A24 logo, which a lot of people, recognize now, big film studio. I saw Toho from Japan, classic Japanese movie studio, still making great films. I was wondering about working with your inspiration sources. How do you go beyond that, in the sense that there's an aesthetic, for instance, on the A24 logo? Do you and your team want to, be part of an aesthetic, or are you always trying to transcend the aesthetic and set a new one, if you know what I'm saying? What are the goals vis-a-vis your inspiration?
The goal for us, the goal in any design is not to evoke a reference. References are just tools.
Yeah.
And that you got to be very careful, man, because they're, in a time like this, people making a lot of content, and there's a lot of reference there. So most of the times, the content is going to be very safe, because the reference is something that has been already done, and there's nothing to innovate. It's basically the same thing. For us in design, we all try to focus on not replicating a reference, but replicating a feeling. Personally, for me, in the very personal layer for picture start. With those explorations, I was thinking a lot about that moment. I don't know if you guys know the film called Cinema Paradiso. There's a moment there where there's a kid called Toto in that film. They're just showing the film inside of a cinema. I think, yeah, it's a cinema in Italy. I forgot the name of the town.
Yeah.
There's a moment that the kid or the guy who's taking care of the kid, it takes the glass that is projecting inside the movie theater, and like he moves that window and aims to the wall that is outside on the street and projects the film in the street so everybody can see it. That shot blew my mind, and it's really old and favorite for many. And the soundtrack is amazing, and the beauty of that is just a human getting one tool and just redirecting a little bit, shifting it, distorting it a little bit, so other people can access it, and if you put yourself in that mirror, you're just seeing a cast of light that is like flickering, seeing some kind of image, but you don't kind of quite make something out of it. And that's the kind of a thing that I was trying to evoke in here. And one of the things that I'm dying to see, because I haven't seen on the theater, is that the colors that we use for that logo animation are made in a way that if you don't, one day that you've seen that logo animation quite a bit of time, one day that you go to the theater, you see the people, you will see just like a rainbow bath of light in their faces. That would be for me like the second layer of magic from that animation.
That's nice.
That's value that comes from an honest perspective, from living and seeing things that I like, and notice when I notice something that I like, and getting that into my essence, into my identity. And yes, I would use a reference from something else to evoke that feeling, or to not evoke that feeling, but to like set the expectations of the actual production. But I would definitely always try to push away from replicating it, because it was already done, and I don't get any gist out of that.
Yeah, I get that. Well, Juan, I think maybe a short final question before we have to sadly conclude this expert talk. There's a question from Carla. Do you felt creatively drained in the past year somehow? And I want to add maybe also as a bit more maybe of a hopeful follow-up to that question immediately. What are you looking forward to in the coming year? So maybe you can combine those two.
I have a very good answer for that. So I have 2 kids. The youngest one was born about a month ago.
Congratulations.
And, thanks. And I felt at some point that I was feeling creatively drained. So again, just talking from an honest point of view, like what I felt right to do, in my own personal view, is to create a kind of a manifesto about what are the things that I really care about, what are the things that I'm really passionate about, what are the things that I think sometimes in my head that wake me up, get me out of bed and start drawing it, and get me out to share with somebody else. And that writing that manifesto or just recording it with audio led me to find some kind of an anchor into the things that I really like. So whenever something happens in my life, I can always have a kind of a creed to the things that makes my identity, and I still use that. Maybe that could be a religion in the future. Who knows? That's the cool thing about religion. It's not about finding some kind of external power. It's just like having faith in yourself to be better at. So that was my weird tool to create that, and it's something that I share also with my team. Maybe out of 10, 1 will find that useful. I don't know, but yeah, it's not creative drain, and there's no other way for us to just, as parents, to go on, and the kids will not stop. Like, oh, you drain, okay, I'll come back in 5 minutes, okay? No, they be there. So yeah, these things, the weird tools kind of help.
And what are you looking forward to in the coming year?
Rest. It was very heavy year for us, and I mean my family now, for MediaMonks. MediaMonks have been kind of thriving because we're a lot of people, So something that we do really good is like, well, putting mental health always forward, and whenever somebody can do more of what they're supposed to do, they come forward and find a way to rebalance the production, and at the end we get to deliver. And I think that's also what makes us very resilient in the industry too.
That's beautiful. Well, Juan, thank you so much again for breaking down all your work, your inspirations, your processes. Thanks for being here with us in this expert talk. Thanks to everybody in the audience that's joining us, that's watching, that's listening, that's asking questions, giving comments and compliments. People are saying really inspiring, beautiful. Thanks so much. So Juan, yeah, exactly. Really inspiring. Thank you, really. Wish you a lot of rest then in the coming year. You're going on a holiday. Enjoy that. Seeing your family again. Thanks for being here with us. Thanks for joining us with the first expert talk today at In Edit Netherlands. We'll be back in approximately 13 minutes at 1 p.m. We'll be talking with Jarl Hector, who's a creative producer, music supervisor, and we're going to talk about music licensing and how to obtain music rights as a documentary filmmaker. Something very present that we're also experiencing now while live streaming on YouTube, how complicated music rights can be. So drop in the link. You can find it in the In Edits Netherlands YouTube channel, or go to our website. You can see all of the other expert talks of today. Juan, again, final concluding thank you. Wish you a beautiful day. Thank you for joining us, and we'll of course hope to see you soon.
Yeah, you too, and all success for In Edit.
Thanks so much. Take care.
Bye-bye.